Well, hi there, and welcome to the very first Non-Del Influencers podcast. My name is Ginger Bell with Edumarketing, and I have with me actually our hosts of the podcast, Mr. Nate Clear and Nick Krakosky, both with FirstFunding. Hey, guys.
How are we doing, Ginger?
Doing great. I am so excited to kick this very first episode off of a podcast. And normally I'm not going to be on this podcast. I know you're hosting. I'll probably be a guest, hop on every once in a while. But I really wanted to kick off the very first podcast and share with everyone what we're doing, what your mission was, how they can join in, and why they need to be listening to this podcast. And so let's start off with, first of all, who is this for? So Nate, who is this podcast for?
Yeah. So it's quite simple. It's all aspects of the non-delegated channel. So if you are, retail and you're looking at maybe going independent, this is for you. If you're an independent loan officer, you want to go do this on your own, this is for you. If you're an independent loan officer and you just want to know about the channel, this is for you. Secondary market, right? You've got account executives that have been in wholesale their whole life, maybe some correspondent guys. This is for you. Credit vendors, appraisal management, pricing engines, etc. This is for you. What we want to do is shine a light on the non-delegated channel. And so really there's a lot of folks that this podcast is going to be great for.
Perfect. And really in coming up with this, we didn't start with the podcast. So the initial goal and two different things, and I'm going to actually throw a couple of things up here for you guys that are watching us on video. For those that are listening, you can follow and subscribe at non-delinfluencerspodcast.com. And so following the episodes, we're going to be streaming onto all your favorite streaming apps, whatever that is, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all of them, and then also YouTube. But really there's more behind this than just the podcast. And that is the actual site, which is Non-Del Influencers. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, originally what we were doing is we're pulling all these resources together. And we get people from throughout the industry and they're asking us from a warehouse lending perspective, hey, what do people need to do to move into non-delegated? How can they optimize? Where can they find this resource? Where can they find that resource? And it was like, finally dawned on us when we're trying to pull all of these pieces together so that we can be, subject matter experts, or at least being able to make off the right handoffs. So it was like, we should literally have a website that, our partners throughout the industry can help contribute to, so that the users of that have a place to go. And so that's where we got started, was just, let's create this site, right? We'll create a free service where people can register, be a part of this community, and take advantage of the tools that are out there. And then we'll just be kind of cobbling all of the necessary pieces together. Let's make a kind of a common voice. People have questions. They don't see something on there that they want to have on there. They've got, a spot to ask for it. To help, kind of better synchronize this industry. You and I both know our industry is so incestual. It's incredible. People that you haven't talked to in 9 years, all of a sudden it's like the stars align. We get to work together all over again. So anyways, to that end, we want to be able to provide kind of that nexus for everybody to have access to.
Yeah, certainly when people are getting started, a lot of say, well, you're going to get a warehouse line. It's like, yeah, but that's just one aspect, right? You've got to have a credit provider. You've got to have an LOS, especially if you're starting your own business. You've got a lot of things that you need to line up. And so if we can just have a spot where, hey, you know what? All the experts in the industry that can help make that transition, whether you're going independent, whether you're moving broker to banker, whether you're just looking for additional information to learn about what is non-delegated correspondent lending, right? This is that spot.
Yeah. And then if you are already in the channel and you're like, what are the things that other people are doing that I'm not doing? Yep. Or I've got these kind of gaps. I know I have these gaps. I just don't know where to go. This will be a resource for them as well.
Yeah, and really that's it. If you're listening to this podcast and you are not a non-delegated correspondent, you have a lot of questions.
Yep.
And, obviously FirstFunding provides a warehouse facility. And Nick, as you said, that's just one aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes, and, we've been training on how to get started as a non-del for a long, long time. But it's always, where do I start? It's like, what part of the elephant do I start with? Right. And so by having this resource at non-delinfluencers.com, it's a free resource. You have training in there, you have resources in there, you have guides, you have information as far as getting licensed with the NMLS, all of those kind of things in there. And nothing like that exists. It's always been kind of okay, let's put this together, or let's do a webinar. And, that's why we did the podcast, because you do one webinar. It's like, well, I missed the webinar. I'm going to go back and watch the webinar. Where am I going to find the webinar? And what I love about podcasts is it puts it all into one place, and whatever it is they want to go in and watch, then they can do that, because you're going to be interviewing compliance, as you said, those that can help with the licensing, those can help with the insurance, all the different pieces. But in addition to that, you're going to be interviewing actual non-DELs who are doing it right now and finding out what are their best practices. What are they finding works for them? Why is it successful for them to be and I think probably the term and that I've heard is the hybrid model, where it's that combination. And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand, right? You don't have to be all one or the other. You can have that hybrid where you are doing some where you're broking, we are doing some where you're actually are the actual correspondent lender on it. And so having all of those and getting those questions answered and having it in a podcast where you can go and you can binge it, or you can watch one at a time, or you can find whatever you want to do. I think that's awesome. I mean, it's just, I'm so excited, and nobody else is doing this.
Well, and we're not going to become hour-long sessions, right? I feel like so many times you get into something, it's like, Jesus, just get to what you're going to say. I think what you'll find in this podcast is we're like-minded. We want this to be like 15, 20 minutes, short and sweet. Here are the high points. Let's get you in and out, get you the information that you need to have. And I think the podcast, like you're saying, Ginger, it affords us the ability to keep things fresh, right? So like there's a resource, but it's a today resource. You're not watching the 1980s video of how this gets done. No, this is real life. It's now. This is what's happening. This is what people are doing. So happy to show some of the things that haven't changed, and we'll talk about those, but also what's happening right now. And the podcast allows you to do that much better than I think you can ever get out of a webinar, and even to the website, right? I mean, the website's going to be really great, good information. We'll keep it curated and up to date and fresh the best that we can. But the podcast is constantly going to be just what's happening this week, and it's I think a way better perspective. It's where we're getting most of our information these days anyway. So we're excited as well.
Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, to watch all the episodes, get them on whatever streaming channel you want. You go to www.non-delinfluencerspodcast.com. And then to get access to the resource center, it's non-delinfluencers.com. Either one of those will get you to both of those places. Mm-hmm. So just remember that. And really that's the whole idea. Let's talk about the name a little bit, non-del influencers, because really being a non-del provides you the opportunity to have true influence and to make a difference, not just in their business, but really in their market, right?
Yep. No, absolutely. We talk about this day in, day out. I mean,
it's a branding effort, right? I mean, as a broker, you're branding all of the different lenders out there in the industry, right? You're working with maybe 15, 20 different lenders. Every loan that comes in, it's somebody else's name. Well, now as a non-del, you've got the opportunity to really influence your community, influence your real estate base, influence your title company base with your branding, your name as a lender. So certainly that influencing your own industry.
Yep. And I think that's also going to be, huge for not only the guests that we have on our podcast that are lenders or are brokers or are in charge of each of those channels, et cetera, but also for the vendors that are going to serve that channel. There's a lot of people that we see, out in the marketplace, certainly at trade shows. Yep. They've got blogs, et cetera. We want to bring them to life. So often we just see static posts. We want to get more of the energy and the flow from those true influencers of our industry to be a part of this as well.
Yep. I love it. So again, go to non-delinfluencerspodcast.com or non-delinfluencers.com and make sure and follow us and let us know what it is that you want to know about. I think that's one of those things that's important. So if you go to the Non-Del Influencers podcast, you can actually register and get alerts, and then you'll be able to let us know, what do you want to know? What are your questions? Because that's the whole thing. Inquiring minds want to know, right? What questions do you want to know? And so congratulations, guys. I am so happy. Thank you for allowing me to be the person that does the introduction.
Yes,
I know we've had the pleasure of working together for many, many years. And so it's so cool to see you doing this and to be the first ever. There's no other podcast out there that is speaking specifically to what people need to know about this channel. And so thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The other thing that I do want to mention, do visit the website, register so that you have access to the website, follow up on the podcast. If you have any questions, or if you want to be in one of our podcasts, if you think you got something to say, run your idea by us. You can send it to info@nondelinfluencers.com. We would love to have that as well.
Yeah, so there's a spot on the website where if you are interested in being a guest, you can go on there, just click on the link that says be a guest and fill the form out. And then Nate and Nick will get in touch with you. And we want to thank you for listening. So congratulations, guys. I look forward to following you and seeing a lot more information on the Non-Del Influencers podcast.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thanks, Ginger.